Hometown Happenings is brought to you by Foothill 7 TV and the Thompson's family of automotive dealerships.
Hi, I'm Norma Santiago, member of the Board of Supervisors, El Dorado County Board of Supervisors, and welcome to Hometown Happenings. Today we have Jody Franklin, Director of Tourism for the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce. This is the second of a series of episodes that we're running about the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce and its many programs. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you very much.
Well, you know, we always hear it's a great day in El Dorado County. I guess everything starts with you. And
yes,
tourism,
I'd like to think
right?
that.
Yeah. It's amazing that when you start talking about the chamber, you hear the chambers. It's a great day in El Dorado County. And we always hear you when you start speaking, you speak in front of the Board of Supervisors. Yes, it's a great day in El Dorado County. So how does the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce promote tourism?
Well, this is a half an hour show, I think, so I'm not going to go to an hour worth because I could fill this with an hour worth of stuff on how we promote the Chamber of Commerce, or how the Chamber of Commerce promotes tourism. But for today's discussion, the Chamber of Commerce contracts with the county to promote tourism countywide. So that doesn't mean just to their members, that means we're promoting all of El Dorado County. And you know, that goes from El Dorado Hills all the way through South Lake Tahoe, right to the state line. So that's a big area, and we take that job very seriously to promote the entire county and how we go about doing that.
So that's a wide range.
Yes.
You're going from blue to gold or gold to blue, right?
Right.
So what things stand out for you in terms of the treasures, the major treasures? I mean, we have a lot of treasures in El Dorado County.
Yes.
So what stands out for you as the treasures that you would like to most promote in tourism?
Well, you know, it starts with the gold discovery. That's where, you know, it starts with us because that's where we started. But and we know that is a popular subject, still to this day, a popular subject. So if we can get there, and we've got a couple of international hotspots in El Dorado County. So South Lake Tahoe, as you know, it's very iconic, and people know about South Lake Tahoe. And lots of times they know about Coloma. So my job, as I see it, is to take what they know and then just expand that out. Let them know that there's more to see than just the gold discovery. We've got a really rich and robust wine region right now. So let them know about those things. Let them know that there's more, that you can stay for more than one day. You can stay for 7 days and still not see everything you want to see. So we take what people know, and then we just expand upon that.
And how is the Department of Tourism, I'll call it that, the Chamber, how is that funded?
That is funded through the TOT. So like I said, the Chamber of Commerce contracts with the county to promote tourism countywide. That money comes from the hotel motel tax, that tax that you pay when you go most lodging in any area. It comes from that tax.
And always wanting more, right?
Always wanting more, always needing more. But you know what we take, what a strong part of our program is our partnerships. So, you know, we're not funded as strongly as some of the other areas, but we take that has provided an opportunity and a necessity to work with other regions. So, and other groups, you know, if it's the Fair Play Wine Association, whether it's Apple Hill Growers. So that's what the Visit Authority does. We get everybody at the same table, and we've done this for years, at the same table to talk about what we want to spend that money on, how we're going to spend it, how we're going to collaborate with all our different partners. And it's taken years to get that trust, you know, because it's just like a marriage, right? So you're not going to, the first time you meet somebody, you're not going to go on a weekend with them. You're going to have a cup of coffee. And then the next time you may go for dinner. And the next time you may go for the weekend, and you may end up getting married, you know. So we're building a relationship with those organizations, and it's built on trust. And so I really think the strength of this program is that relationship we have with our partners and knowing that we need them and they need us.
And that's a great thing. So you talk about your partnerships. You've talked about the Apple Hill Growers. You've talked about the Wine Association. So let's talk about that a little bit in terms of from a perspective of the visitor. Okay. So what is there to see? What is there to do? What is there to enjoy? in El Dorado County. And how was that communicated to me?
Well, and that's what's exciting and challenging today, is because, you know, we're trying to get to know our visitor a lot better, and there's a lot more ways to do that now with technology the way it is. So we have recently just gone through kind of a huge analyzing of our customer, analyzing of our visitor, and we know several things. Some things surprised us, and some things we knew. So we knew that the baby boomers should be a big part of our program, but we found out also that the 25 to 34-year-olds, we've got 25% of our folks in that category, and pretty much we weren't really speaking to them. You know, they were speaking to each other, but we weren't necessarily speaking to them, yet they were still fascinated in our area, in the areas of cycling, Gold Rush. Gold Rush was number one, cycling and wine. Those are all biggies. So we took that information and now we can grow upon it. So we are now speaking to those 25 to 34s. We're redoing our website. We're keeping that in mind when we're communicating with them. For instance, the baby boomers, they like to get email information. And in this day and age, we want to get it the way we want to get it. I don't want you to email me and I can shut you off, right? So, and some people still want a visitor guide. We send out 300 or so visitor guides a month. There's still a need for that. So people want to be communicated on the level that they want to, and they can tell us that, and we can take that information and then deliver on it.
So you talked about that the 25 to 34-year-old, you talked about three major interests that they have in terms of, you said gold rushing.
Gold Rush history, yeah.
Gold Rush history, and you talked about cycling, and the third one
was wine.
Winery. Oh yeah, the wineries are big. Talk about that Gold Rush history, because I think that's something that our viewing audience would love to hear more about, because that's a really exciting part of El Dorado County.
You know, and I've lived here all my life, and I thought, you know, I never thought of really interested in gold panning until I got this job. And you go out to the trade shows and the travel shows and you start talking to people. They are very interested. They are very interested in that whole, you know, if it's an international visitor, it's kind of the Wild West type of life that we have here and we still have, and in the Gold Rush history, that 25 to 34-year-olds, which I found really fascinating, they were most interested in our Gold Rush history. So that's something you would think that an older person would be interested in. Not so. They've got fourth graders in that age group that, you know, that's what we've kind of honed in on. They've got fourth graders that are studying that. So there's a whole segment of the population that find that very fascinating. They didn't, you know, that whole Gold Rush history and actually panning for gold, seeing it, touching it, talking to somebody about it. You know, when I tell them that you can still sell your gold to a jewelry store and they'll buy it, you know, really big news to them. So when I go to a travel show, I bring gold with me because, you know, that'll get them to your table and talking. And the family vacation, the kind of enriching family vacation is real big in that age group.
And it seems to me that what you touch on is an important part of our history and heritage, and there seems to be a lot of interest from the visitor to learn more about that, because we do have a really, really rich history in El Dorado County.
Oh yeah, and you know, it's what I call, even if you're interested in wine, let's say, the Gold Rush is the backdrop to all of El Dorado County, right? That is the backdrop to what we've got here. So those were the pioneers, but then when the Gold Rush kind of died down, those people went into the agriculture, and then we were growing grapes. You know, we were the third largest region during that time. So, you know, that is kind of the backdrop to all that we do here. And then because of that, we know how valuable it is to work with our Gold Country partners. So everybody all down Highway 49, that, you know, those Gold Rush towns and everything, that's another one of our partnerships is, you know, reaching the visitor on a different level, you know, a whole family vacation down Highway 49. So yes, it is a huge part, and I think it's really the backbone to what we have to offer here.
And so let's talk about that backbone, because there's a lot of spokes, and you just talked about the winery coming out of that. I guess gold turned into wine or something like that, right?
Liquid gold, right?
Yeah, it was liquid gold in our wine. And so briefly tell us about the success that we're having with our wineries here in El Dorado County?
Well, yeah, the wineries have grown all over the state. All over the state, the wine region has grown. In El Dorado County, we were really pioneering, some of when we had the resurgence of wine grape growing, it was in the 70s. And so we've got some people that have been here a very long time, and they're growers. They're not, not somebody that's coming and investing in a business. These lots of times that have been in the family for many years. So they've got a rich background in agriculture, and they're growing, and we're one of the highest growing regions, highest in elevation growing regions in the state. So that makes us different. Also, we've got over 70 wineries now. Also, we have a unique experience. We're smaller than small. We are boutique. So when you go into that tasting room, lots of times it's the person that made that wine, and you get a whole different experience. For one thing, they have small lots of everything. And so you may have an acre of grapes on, just this one kind. So they'll have 10 bottles out there that you're tasting, that you can taste. If you go to some of the larger wine regions, they're not able to do that. They charge you a normal leg, but they have 4 there or 5 or something like this. We have pioneers. These are pioneers that are pioneering the grape growing, the wine region. So they are, they can experiment. That's why they like to work here. They can experiment on the Rhone varietals and mixing this and that. So that same pioneer spirit carries over into the winemaking too. So we have great wine here. We're getting known, more getting known, and we value, as a Visitors Authority, we value that partnership with the wine region.
And I think one of the great things that have happened in terms of the partnership with the Lake Tahoe South Shore Chamber of Commerce is the Sample of the Sierra that's held in the fall.
Yes.
And where we take the pairing of not only, the agricultural products as well as the wineries with restaurants up in Tahoe. And as a result, we're seeing a lot more of those wines and produce up in Tahoe and being used in the restaurants.
Well, and that's a great example of those partnerships. When we first started here, we went over to meet some of the movers and shakers over there and say, what do we have? And just started that conversation. What do we have that you want? What do you have that we want? There's that big granite wall between us, and so why aren't we working together more? And I think that Sample of the Sierra is a good example of those conversations. They want to get to know our farmers. Our farmers would like their product in your restaurants. And so how does that happen, And that doesn't just happen going, Joe meet Tom. Maybe Joe and Tom are in the same place at the same time. And I think it's been a really great partnership. It's just one of the things, like one stepping stone towards even greater partnerships with South Lake Tahoe. The Visitors Authority up there does a great job of promoting South Lake Tahoe, on both sides of the state line. So when they're on this side of the state line, we like to help or augment whatever they've got and have them take a look at what we have to.
And that's a great point, the value of those partnerships. So we have just a little bit of time left, but the other thing you mentioned was biking and cycling and it growing up for that particular population. So let's talk about cycling and let's talk about recreation, because I hear more and more how recreation is, not only cycling, but the rafting and all those treasures we have here in El Dorado County.
That's right. So first of all, got to get this in that the whitewater rafting, since we're dam controlled, we are going to be one of the very few rivers in California that have rafting 5 days a week. So we're really wanting to get that out to the public, that we are rafting here when other places, because of the drought, you're not going to be able to raft. That's a huge deal in our area. Those people come from all over California. Cycling, is a gift, but we have narrow roads. So I think the biggest part of our promotion is educating both the cyclists and the public about that. We've got some great places to cycle up here. Cyclists have money. They like to spend their money not only on their bike, but in other things, in the wineries. And, so getting to know our area on 2 wheels is really, really valuable. So, but then also, as residents here, we got to know when they're going to be here. If they're going to be here in a big population, we want to know it. So it's not an inconvenience. We want a great relationship between the visitor and the residents. So I think that with cycling, our area is so beautiful. People are so interested in that portion of it. And let's take advantage of that. Let's take advantage of the interest we have here instead of going, no, Let's take advantage of that interest we have here and the money that they're willing to spend here and see how we can enrich their experience and ours.
And for the connection, again, between the east and the west slope, right? The interest of having an actual trail that starts at El Dorado Hills and goes all the way up to Tahoe, how big of an interest that is.
Oh my gosh.
And we have America's Most Beautiful Bike Ride that goes around the lake. Again, that comes around in the fall. So there's what we're seeing and what we're experiencing up in Tahoe is the same thing I'm seeing here, is that interest in cycling and making that part of the visitor's experience. And you're talking about that target group again, and they really, really enjoy the cycling possibilities. And it's not just that I can, do the Pacific Rim thing, but also making it part of a touring concept. I think that there's a great opportunity there.
Oh yes.
And really looking at our bike trail system, I think the Pony Express Trail is another great opportunity.
Absolutely. For that Wild West reason we were talking before.
Exactly. So you see the linkages, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Wild West, the gold, the winery, the recreation. Oh my gosh, I want to live in El Dorado County. Oh, I do. So yeah, it's really amazing. We live in this beautiful county with all its riches and all its good things to have, and rarely we spend time being able to go out there and be the tourists.
Right.
And so that we can share it with our family and friends. So we just have a few more minutes here, and so how can I find out, or how can the viewing audience find out about what's happening, and where can I get information about the various activities that might be happening?
So glad you asked. So we have visiteldorado.com. That's our website, and we're just redoing it now to make it mobile friendly and have all the information. But we also have this rich social network that we've really tried to invest in. And so we have got a lot of people, residents talking, as well as non-residents talking through the social media channel, and we're on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, Instagram, all the social media channels, YouTube. So if anybody is interested in that, I would encourage them to start talking with those. It's Visit El Dorado is basically the name of the Twitter account as well as the Facebook, or go onto the website if you prefer that. If you're, like me, I like emails. So we've got join the newsletter or something like that. Join the email. So we will communicate the latest, greatest things that are happening, so you can get that too, residents or non-residents.
So I can, and my Facebook, I can Visit El Dorado?
Yes.
And then again, the website is?
visiteldorado.com.
All right, great. Well, Jody, it was great having you here, and it was great chatting with you. It's always exciting. I love your energy and what you do to help promote tourism for El Dorado County.
Well, thank you.
So thank you again for joining us, and this concludes this episode. But please stay tuned for a future episode where we'll learn about the film industry here in El Dorado County. Thank you again for joining us.